But in addition to that, I think it's important that we have a clear understanding of the compliance requirement under all of these levels and a description of the things needed in order to be in compliance. Let's talk about level 1. Under level 1, there are 4 mandatory steps that must be completed, and these steps can be conducted over the phone. Number 1, make sure that you conduct a complete intake process. Now, in the intake process, it's critical that you get things like the consumer's name, address, basic demographic information, and also information regarding the lender and also the loan in which the consumer has and the reason for the delinquency. Number 2, make sure that you also get a sign authorization form from the consumer. Now, the whole purpose of the sign authorization is to allow NFMC to be able to come in and do their periodic audits to make sure that the nonprofit is in compliance with the program. In addition to that, it allows the consumer to get the follow-up counseling needed and also for us to be able to share information with a third party. In order for the servicer to talk to us or to give us information regarding a consumer's file, it's important then that we have that authorization form. Another requirement under level 1 is that the budget be completed. It's really critical that you develop a budget for the consumer. Now, at this point, we're really looking at basically an oral representation of what the consumer feels their expenses are, their debt load, and also the sources of income. And the final thing that's required under the level 1 is that we do a written action plan, an action plan for follow-up activities to be conducted by not only by the consumer, but also an action plan of items to be completed by the counselor as well. Let's talk a little bit about the level 2. Now, again, with level 2, there's 4 major steps that need to be completed with the level 2. However, the difference between the level 2 and the level 1 is the verification part. Under a level 2, it is required at this point that the counselor verify the information that they've gained from the consumer. So here's where we need to review documentation that provides evidence of the information that the consumer has given us to be true and accurate. Well, we can do this in a lot of different ways. One way is to pull a credit report. We know that that's not mandatory under NFMC for round 2. However, that may be one way of getting at least an idea of the consumer's debt load. Another way of being able to verify the basic budget information is by looking at monthly bills, monthly bank statements, looking at the consumer spending patterns. Again, this is an opportunity for us to be able to verify. Please don't forget to also get a copy of the consumer's pay stub. That's really important. Secondly, under level 2, the organization will need to make sure that they've gotten the signed authorization form and they've given the client a copy of their privacy policy statement along with the confidentiality statement. This is very important. It's important that we also, under step 3 of level 2, make sure that we help the consumer formulate the hardship letter and document what has caused the delinquency. Here's where we really are working with the consumer in being able to document, here's what caused the delinquency, here's what caused my problem, and the reason, this is why I'm behind in not making my payment. And finally, remember I said there's 4 steps. Finally, the file has to be closed out. And at this point, this is where we gain the documentation to support the reason for closing out the file. Under closing out the file, the type of documentation that's needed is documentation to verify that we've gotten a modification, or documentation to verify that we communicated with the lender and the lender is willing to work with the client. The file is now under consideration for a modification agreement. The file is now being considered for a forbearance. As long as we can provide documentation of these things occurring, then at this point we can close out the file. Remember, under NFMC, they are not tracking full resolution. So to actually have a copy of the final documentation of the modification agreement or the forbearance agreement is not a requirement. And we all know under Level 3 is a combination of Level 1 and 2. Level 3 means that there's been some sort of resolution that has taken place, that all of the information has been gathered by the counseling agency, and also all of the information has been verified. At that point, then we can claim a Level 3. Please understand that the maximum amount that can be drawn per individual counseling client is only $450.